Good evening. This is Maestro with a Best of 5 Faction War series between the Eldar and the Orks. We're going to start off our Best of 5 series on Estia Province, and our first player representing the Eldar will be Lindonin, playing as the teleporting Warp Spider Exarch. This is a ranged commander good at harassing and moving around the map. Next up, it'll be Ben, 1993, playing as his signature Farseer. This is a spellcasting, buffing, debuffing, and healing commander. Next up, and finally for the Eldar, it will be YZ playing as the Warlock. This is a melee commander, can either be a spellcaster or a melee tank, depending on his war gear. And next up, we're going to start introducing our Orc players. We're going to start off with Assman playing as the Mech Boy, teleporting ranged commander for the Orcs. Not too dissimilar to the Warp Spider Exarch, but this one can also repair. Next up, it'll be Bruce Campbell on the War Boss. Tanky melee commander, can charge with war gear, knock down cover, etc. Finally, it'll be RedBeard playing as the Commando Knob. Sneaky orc with bombs, guns, and knives to kill you all sneaky-like. Alright then, so, you know, generally, as I've had some discussions on some of the recent faction wars, faction war play level usually ranges from mid-level to high level. And I think generally, some of the ones that we've had a little bit more recently have been a little bit more of the mid-level variety. But this one right here, our teams are pretty stacked. I would say both these teams are pretty stacked. Our Orc team, on paper, a little bit more so. Bruce Campbell, really, really good. RedBeard, someone who I feel like he kind of goes in and out of being active, but he's very good. Assman, also known as Hunter, very, very good. Our Eldar players, certainly no slouches themselves, though. Lindonin, super old-school player, literally been playing this game for like a decade. And I feel like he sometimes goes a little underestimated. Sometimes, honestly, I underestimate him. And then often when he gets underestimated, then he kind of shows up and really shows just how good he still is. Ben, 1993, also very good. YZ, someone I'm not as familiar with, but I think once or twice I was informed that he is indeed quite good as well. All right, then. So, Sluggo Boys tried to finish off the Farseer in retreat. Oh my god, they might get finished off in retreat. Certainly super close. And they're just barely going to get out of there with one of their models. Super lucky for them. It's an opening double cap for our Orc players. We got that Commando Knob running around and opening fire. Not even being too sneaky about it today. But he's just so good against the Dire Avengers individually. Obviously, just as a single entity, he can tank a lot of damage. And then out of the ranged commanders, he has, I think, one of the better starting range DPS. His starting range DPS is better than the Mech Boy, better than the Warp Spider Exarch. Of course, part of that is that he doesn't teleport around like they do. I think the Tech Marine might be just a little bit better than him, but otherwise, just the starting range DPS of the Commando Knob is pretty strong. And, I mean, even the Mech Boy himself here, we see him in cover. He'll do just fine at bleeding models off those Dire Avengers as well. So we see a lot of Dire Avengers around here. Okay, one is finally getting an aspect. I was about to say, YZ also already has aspects on his as well. Ooh, and already we're seeing some upgrades all around. We see aspects on Dire Avengers. We see the War Boss using Now I'm Angry just to get in really, really close to those Rangers. A very popular war gear for the War Boss, this Angry Bits, granting him the Now I'm Angry ability. It both gives him a very powerful gap closer, which, I mean, if you think about it, not all melee commanders have. And it also gives him a lot of health regeneration as well. And actually, I might take that back. As I start to think about things a little bit more, I realize that a lot of melee commanders do have some kind of gap closer. Force Commander has teleport. Force Commander has teleport. Hive Tyrant has a charge of his own. I guess Chaos Lord has Heretic Worship. But anyway, I think one of the big things that differentiates this Angry Bits is that it actually gives you a lot of health regeneration. So it's not just a gap closer, it's also a tanking mechanic. And it also knocks enemies over. So a lot of good things about that. Alright then, big Orc Wall right here. Farseer getting in really, really close, but she's not really being supported, so she'll just have to retreat. She does get attacked on retreat by the Sluggas, but it doesn't look like she will go down. Getting lucky again this time. But, man, Dire Avengers just tanking so much damage. One of those Dire Avenger squads already gone. I think, because they were trying to throw a grenade in. Oh, my God, it would be super unlucky if he loses a second one. And he will! Oh, God. That is super rough. And Bruce Campbell also rightly pointing out that the Eldar bleeding a little bit too much in these engagements. I mean, both of these races are kind of inherently squishy races, but I think it's really the Eldar who can afford to bleed less, whereas with the Orks, it's kind of more of a foregone conclusion that you will bleed, so I guess it's just more what you can achieve while you also bleed like that. Oh my god, these Howling Banshees, they're really going to approach like that? There's like 4 shooter squads here. Oh my god, they're gonna be wiped on retreat as well. Oh god, really, really rough starts for our Eldar players. So we have some other Dire Avengers being a lot more cautious, hiding behind those energy shields. Ooh, we might have the Orc player overextending as well. Bruce Campbell, oh my god, I can't believe he got it out of there. Ard boys, as well as the health regeneration. I think that still came from the Now I'm Angry, keeping him alive. I think there was even a point where he went down to 1 hit point. Oh, no. Friendly fire. Rough start for our Eldar players here. Oof, man, it's been rough for our Eldar players. Orcs definitely with the better start. More upgrades are going to come in, though, as well. We got the Warp Spider Exarch. Wow, full upgrades on this Warp Spider Exarch. Since I don't remember if it was Lindonin who lost some of those squads. But even just with this, I feel like Lindonin's going to be a little bit late to Tier 2 with this heavy investment in his Warp Spider Exarch. He's also got, I mean, upgrades on some of his squads as well, the aspects on the Dire Avengers as well as the Banshees. But, I mean, this fully upgraded Warp Spider Exarch, it certainly does give him a lot of damage since he has both the improved targeters as well as the heavy gauge Death Spinner to give him better damage. And heavy gauge Death Spinner also does add a knockback ability. And then the improved Warp Generator. Ooh, so he's looking for some group teleport cheese. Let's see if he can make any big plays with that. That's certainly something that a pretty big group teleport is something that could really turn the tide of the game, getting some nice wipes. Double shooter boys, yet again, will just suppress the Howling Banshees on approach and then just focus fire them after controlling them. Slugger boys will have to retreat, though, but I mean, well, actually, no, they didn't really achieve quite enough. They killed 1 generator, and they're taking a lot of damage on retreat as well. Could we see some grenades in retreat? I think, okay, there's 1 grenade. Can we make it 2? No. Meanwhile, down here, Warp Spider Exarch will just teleport out of there. Temporary double cap for the Eldar, but it won't last very long. Meanwhile, Warp Spider Exarch kind of find himself having to move back. Yeah, I mean, I guess he'll just... it's just part of what the Warp Spider Exarch does. We'll just constantly teleport away from squads that he's being threatened by. Oh, no, another squad for the Eldar going to go down, absolutely. Oh, God, this has been really, really rough for our Eldar players. Meanwhile, Howling Banshees over here will destroy a power node for as much as that's going to achieve. Looks like our Orc players definitely in a better position to get a lot more power bashing done as we see the shooter boys just shooting at ranged. So, I mean, what is the problem here for our Eldar? I think we're just seeing a little bit of potentially how this matchup works. I think in general we're seeing kind of higher range damage coming out of the Orcs, with the upgraded shooter squads having superior range damage compared to the Dire Avengers. Meanwhile, when the Howling Banshee... So, in a straight-up shootout, the Orcs should kind of be favored. So... And then we have the problem with if the Howling Banshees try to approach, they're constantly going to be shut down by the aiming what's that of the shooters. We even have a Luda squad right here potentially trying to shut them down. So the Eldar really have to be pretty tricky about how they approach these engagements. Obviously, the energy shields going to have to be important, but energy shields are not mobile, so that kind of otherwise runs counter to what is normally the strength of Eldar, their mobility. Meanwhile, Warboss, talk about mobility. He can use the angry bits to charge in, and he's drawing so much attention while the shooter boys are currently being like unchallenged here, providing all that supporting fire for this Warboss. Has Ard boys on him, charged in. Eventually, it looks like he will finally... Wow, he'll actually die. He won't be retreated in time. A little bit surprising to see that. Now, Wraithguard are certainly an interesting answer here, but unfortunately, they're still being dealt with. And I see the reasoning behind the Wraithguard, basically the fact that they can tank a lot of damage that the shooter boys deal. They can out-damage them, But I think they're trying to deal with the problem that they're getting stunned by that Weird Boy. The Warp Vomit out of that Weird Boy, stunning those Wraithguard, then they will just get focused down. So yet another double cap for our Eldar players, but it is still a significant victory point lead in favor of the Orks, and even when the Eldar players are getting the double cap, it's not lasting very long. This War Boss, again, full upgrades, spiky armor, which also grants him more health regeneration. So it is also very common to see this spiky armor paired with the Angry Bits. Ooh, Mech Boy. He will grappling hook in. He's probably looking for a shotgun blast. The high explosive shells on this blob right here is going to go for it. He'll get it, but I think he'll die for his trouble. So that was a cute play. Ultimately didn't really work out for RedBeard. I mean, yeah, he got the bleed, but he's also not in a great position. It's going to be hard to get a revive on that Commander Knob, and chances are RedBeard will just have to buy him back. Meanwhile, Foot of Gork. Foot of Gork does kind of catch those Dire Avengers. Foot of Gork. No, sorry, those are actually part of Guardian Weapon Team. Foot of Gork is a fun ability. You don't see it very often, in part because it's honestly probably not that good. Situational at best. I think it can be good against garrisons. And just, again, we're seeing the Wraithguard are actually being pretty well shut down. They're going to try to go, they will shoot a volley, but they'll just be approached by the Sluggers. And once they're approached by the Sluggers, they're in a huge amount of trouble. Okay, Rangers will cover for them using the Kinetic Pulse to knock the Sluggers back. Sluggers will just instantly retreat there. They know they're in a huge amount of trouble just from the follow-up fire from the Dire Avengers, the Wraithguard. Okay, now Wraithguard can actually shoot. Just kidding. That will be some Storm Boys jumping in, and it's just going to be more retreats out of all our Eldar players. Dire Avengers and Wraithguard retreating off the field. So I feel like I see the intention behind the Wraithguard as a way with dealing with the shoot-a-blob, but there are just so many other answers that the Orks have. The Storm Boys, the Sluggers, the Weird Boy. All right, let's see if our Eldar players with this push can actually take back this contested victory point. Does look like it'll happen. Dire Avengers should just be able to take it back right then and there. Howling Banshees, man, it's a hard life for these Howling Banshees. They try to go in, they get suppressed by aiming. What's that? Then you've got a Weird Boy hitting them with the Warp Vomit yet again. They can't really melee this War Boss. He's so tanky, and with this spiky armor, he also reflects damage back at units that attack him in melee. Psychic Storm going to be used by the Farseer. Does suppress the Shooter Boys. There's not a huge amount of follow-up, mostly just this Warp Spider Exarch shooting at them in ranged. Does eventually force a retreat on those Shooter Boys. And for the moment, our Eldar players have stabilized, but things are not looking good in the sense that they're about to be staring down some Tier 3 units. Bruce Campbell already has a looted tank on the way. No unit for RedBeard and Assman on the way in terms of Tier 3. Oh, here is going to be another Foot of Gork. Warp Spider Exarch does teleport out of it, and it is just the Guardian Weapon Team that does kind of get caught. Ooh, wow, the Guardian Weapon Team might go down. This is so close, and it does go down. Oh my god. Foot of Gork actually did something. I mean, I guess I can see the reasoning behind it for using it against the Guardian Weapon Team. Basically, that the Foot of Gork is a very slow activation, but of course the Guardian Weapon Team will need to take time to unset up, as well as the fact that, you know, Foot of Gork seems to actually work on stunning and knocking back units that are in retreat. So, and then there was the follow-up from the Sluggers. So, actual Foot of Gork play working out. All right, Autarch will jump in. Also helps the Howling Banshees to get in, and that will be a retreat. Another Warp Vomit as well to control them. But I think in this case, if the Autarch can get another jump, or even, she can even just hard walk in to the Shooter Boys, but instead looks like she'll be prioritizing something else. She's going for something else. Howling Banshees, I think, need to get out of here real soon. Distortion Field is put on them. I think that mostly only works against range damage. Heal from the Autarch comes in, but I think the Banshees did lose a model in retreat to the Slugger Boys. Where's the Autarch? I just lost track of the Autarch. Where did she go? Okay, she retreated. So still a double cap for, and this war boss just hiding around this line of sight blocker so that he doesn't have to worry about tanking too much range damage on approach. He's going to get into melee, but he will be knocked down. He does have Ard Boys on him yet again. This is just such a vicious play with the war boss. Can he turn around and finish off? No, Dire Avenger Squad actually has too many models. Ooh, the Exarch leader did get sniped, though, by the looted tank. Actually created a weird moment where a model was killed and we actually saw the health of the squad appear to go up, only because the maximum health of the squad had decreased. Okay. Oh my god. Boom shot goes in from that looted tank. It does snipe a model on that Dire Avenger squad. Meanwhile, the Wraith Guard trying to just desperately get a decap. Howling Banshees actually get into melee, but I don't think they're going to last too much longer. Luda is suppressing them. Even the Autarch here, I feel like, jumped in just to get the heal on the Howling Banshees. Yeah, it will just need to be an instant retreat on them. Oh my god. Are the Wraith Guard going to be finished off here? That would be tragic, and it actually happens. That's so rough. Unfortunately, those Wraith Guard, they are a very slow-moving unit, so I think especially when they're in retreat, I think that's really, really rough for them. Farseer will go down for Ben 1993. All right, big Orc blob just moving in for another generator bash. The Orcs have really had the advantage all game. Our Eldar players doing their best at the moment, but it hasn't quite been enough just yet. So looted tank is going to move out. I feel like we might need a Bright Lance or something just to make that looted tank replay with just a little bit more respect, because I don't think it's really being challenged that much. I don't think the Wraith Guard... Oh, we do see a Fire Prism, actually. Fire Prism can actually certainly hit that looted tank from very, very long range. Does certainly need to be very careful, though, about making sure that looted tank doesn't get into range of the Fire Prism. Yet another charge in by the War Boss. Finds himself kind of stuck, though. It's looking to be curtains for our Eldar players at the moment. They're struggling just to hold their natural at the moment. Like, I feel like they're about to be pushed into the point where they might even have to concede their natural just to not take too many losses. Yeah, I mean, look at this. We've got the War Boss pushing forward, killing models, getting knocked over, I think, by his own friendly weird boy. And yeah, at this point, I think the Orcs can reasonably make a play to take the Eldar natural. And victory points are already ticking down against the Eldar. They can't get back the contested victory point. Yeah, they just can't get it back. And they're about to lose their natural. They're trying to put some range damage. I think that's a warp throw. Warp throw just to throw him off. Doesn't even throw him far. I think that was also he retreated out instead of actually getting thrown off. Unfortunately, we're going to have an Eldar unit. Oh, that's a Howling Banshee squad that's going to go down. Autarch will be lucky enough to get out of there alive. Luckily for her, this Fire Prism, way too close to those knobs. Fire Prism getting a little too bold. I don't know if it realizes that a looted tank is coming after it. Yeah, that's this looted tank. Okay, I thought that looted tank was going to be sneaky and try to go after the Fire Prism. Here's a Rocks, though. I don't know if there was a setup into that with the aiming what's that could be, knowing RedBeard, as he does like to do that. But even if it wasn't, it worked out well enough that it's scaring a lot of Eldar off the field. Our Eldar players just can't make their way onto the contested victory point. It's just too well guarded at this time. We got Storm Boys using the walls to kind of hide their initiation, but there's actually a hole in the wall that's letting them being shot at. They'll jump in. They're suppressed, though. Now they'll be suppressed even more, or they'll be thrown. Sorry. Well, you know, it's not my fault. Psychic Storm and Warp Throw, I'm pretty sure, have the exact same indicator. Orc squads might actually get wiped here, for whatever it's worth. Oh, because they're trying to sight for a Rocks in base. That's so savage. Okay, one Orc squad will go down there. But I don't know if there's... Oh, okay, is this Kaboom from the mech? No, this is Mega Rumbla. I meant Kaboom from the Commando Knob. Mega Rumbla just stunning all these units out, just preventing them from going anywhere, just delaying them from... delaying the Orcs from being able to capture this victory point. Meanwhile, Warp Spider X, like, he can teleport. Okay, of course, he does that. I think they just barely have enough time to at least stall the... Oh, no, what happened? I guess the Warp Spider Exarch actually just got so desperate to make sure that they got the victory point that he left, and it did not continue tying up the Luda squad. They got the decap, but I don't know if they can hold it. We've got knobs approaching. Double shooter boys currently being uncontested. Fire Prism not targeting the right targets. Need to at least target either the knobs or the shooter boys. Either stop the knobs from approaching or shut down the damage from the shooter boys. It might not matter. We've already got the weird boy getting another decap, and I think he'll... Oh, yeah, he's just going to get the full cap. Okay, I'm wrong, actually. Fire Prism is still here. And we see the Entangling Web. So Heavy Gauge Death Spinner switched out for the Entangling Web. Meanwhile, the Autarch in a bit of trouble right here. She will get out of there alive, but unfortunately for her, that does mean that there's no one at all to contest this, and this will be game number 1 going in favor of our Orc players. Yeah, don't see any Eldar players over here looking for a back cap, so that will definitely be it. When we do actually see Kaboom in the end, I'm a little disappointed that I missed the actual effect of Kaboom, as that is honestly one of the most fun war gears in the game. All right then, so pretty strong game 1 in favor of our Orc players. Let's move on to game number 2 and see what our Eldar players can do about it. Game number 2 will take place on Sakaris Plateau. YZ will be subbing out. Brawler will be stepping in his place, and he will be playing as the Warlock this time. Meanwhile, Ben 1993 is actually going to be switching over to the Warp Spider Exarch, and it'll be Lindonin this time on the Farseer. Although the Farseer is kind of the signature hero for both Ben 1993 and Lindonin. I guess they just kind of want to switch those around. Their opponents, our Orc players. We're going to see some switches too as well. Bruce Campbell not going with the War Boss, despite how effective I personally feel it was in that last game. Instead, going to be on the Mech Boy this game. RedBeard, however, will continue on the Commando Knob. That one is not surprising at all. This is 100% his signature hero. And finally, Assman, otherwise known as Hunter, will be back on the Mech Boy right here.
An ally has secured a power node.
Man, Sakaris Plateau, what a throwback. This is such a throwback that this is absolutely a map that I totally forgot existed before I loaded up this replay. Like this one, this is a retail map. This is not just a retail map. This is like a vanilla Dawn of War 2 map. I'm pretty sure, actually. I don't know. But it's definitely like, man, this is some pre-Elite Mod stuff here. Sakaris Plateau. Crazy, crazy stuff. So, some range damage going in on those Dire Avengers. Shooter Boys, meanwhile, dealing with a little bit of range damage of their own, so they will have to move away. But now these Dire Avengers are going to be overwhelmed, and yet again, we're running into the problem where our Eldar player is taking a little bit too much bleed, theoretically. They'll actually move away from the Dire Avengers. It's a little bit strange to see that. I mean, I guess the Dire Avengers were in cover, but I feel like they actually just had so many more units that I feel they would have had the advantage. I mean, the Warlock is here by himself. I think he goes down here. He'll try to retreat. Oh, the Sluggers won't even chase. I guess because they want to deal with the impending threat of the Howling Banshees as well as these other Dire Avengers. And Howling Banshees are proccing their special attacks, but they're also just taking so much focus fire. The Howling Banshees are going to go down and retreat. Oh, no. More rough starts for our Orc players, rather our Eldar players. Meanwhile, down here, we're going to see some Orcs trying to get into this garrison, this civilian structure right here. This is also where more Foot of Gork could come into play again. I'm pretty sure Foot of Gork does well against garrisons. grenade going to go in. Of course, that does well against garrisons, too. Throws it right at the door, just in case they actually try to get out. One of those shooter squads is actually so low that I think there's a pretty good chance it goes down. But eventually, so much pressure is actually put on the Farseer as well as that Dire Avenger squad that shooter squad will be very, very lucky to actually make it alive out of that garrison. When you're dealing with grenades, garrisons really become a death trap. So a little bit surprising to see Orc players actually take them against Eldar, who generally have some of the better end of being able to deal with garrisons pretty early on in the game. You've got the biggest one is the grenades on the Dire Avengers, and then Rangers also work well for that purpose too. So, Orcs, why are you not capping your natural victory point here? Someone. Okay, it does look like Bruce Campbell will eventually take care of that. They actually have a victory point lead despite not even having their natural victory point. They've got control of the bottom victory point. We see a WA banner put up right here by Assman. And we're going to see some Dire Avengers move in alongside some Howling Banshees and some Rangers. Meanwhile, Mech Boy right here, upgraded with that Daka big shooter. This is Bruce Campbell right here, but he's going to teleport out of there. He'll even go into a garrison. I don't know if he really needs to. That might have been a misclick or something. Not too much he's going to achieve right there. His shooter boys, meanwhile, will be trying to do some damage onto this power node. But oh my God! That was an entire squad, and I missed it. Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, the Warlock right here will be upgraded with the channeling runes. So that Warlock giving that healing over time to the Howling Banshees can work pretty well with them. But we've got some more healing over time from our Orc players as well. We got the Pain Boy right here, can give a heal to an Orc squad, and that will also work as a heal over time. So he's giving it to the Slugger Boys. And that actually works out pretty well, considering if he was paying attention, it was actually the channeling runes, I'm pretty sure, was on cooldown for the Warlock, because he had just used it pretty recently. All right, meanwhile, what's going on right here? We've got some Eldar approaching. They're actually doing a lot of damage to these generators. Dire Avengers firing at the generators as well as these Howling Banshees, cutting them up. But another squad of Dire Avengers actually in a huge amount of trouble. I think they'll be super lucky if they get out of here alive. So much range damage coming out of this Commando Knob. If he can get another burst off, he might finish it off. I don't know what happened, why he didn't shoot. Meanwhile, we've got, I believe that's a Mech Boy in here. Here is some support, of course, in the form of the just the sluggers as well as the shooters coming in, while the Rangers shoot at long range. And eventually it looks like, yeah, this is definitely going to be our Eldar player forced off right here. Oh my God, oh no! He had to retreat, threw down a grenade, ended up stepping on his own grenade. Oh God, that is absolutely tragic. I think that's Lindonin who lost that. Yeah, Lindonin lost that, unfortunately, and quite an unfortunate mistake. Actually ended up nading his own Dire Avengers, and that's basically what caused them to ultimately be wiped in retreat. Absolutely tragic. Oh, wow. Warp Spider Exarch lucky to get out of there. Was even infiltrated, I think, by the hollow fields from the Ranger squad. These Howling Banshees just jumping up and down. We'll get into melee here with the shooter boys. They will use War Shout, but they'll also get suppressed by the looters. We have the Mech Boy right here also to make them, just to put even more damage on them, trying to keep them in there with the channeling runes, but I don't think that's really an option, given that you're facing down the suppression of the looters. All right, Orcs have been scared off the bottom victory point for the moment. So it looks like we're going to see Lindonin try to make his way inside. See if he can get the cap. Ideally, I think it should be the Rangers who get the cap, because he's not even going to cap. Yeah, I guess he's looking for those shooter boys. He's going to move up some other units, though, that can cap. However, it does look like Bruce Campbell might be moving in to take the natural victory point away from the Eldar. He's got a pretty good position. I think he can just put a unit on the point right now. Mech Boy makes the most sense as the tankiest of them all. Single entity. Meanwhile, over here, we do have some Howling Banshees. They don't even finish the generator. I feel like they should at least finish the generator if they're going to do that. Because, I mean, not finishing the generator and letting the Mech Boy repair it now means that got literally no value. That achieved nothing. If they at least finish off that generator, which only had 12 hit points left, it means you disrupt your opponent's power income by, even if it's a small amount, and you force them to spend another 100 requisition to buy that generator back. Warp Spider Exarch, ooh, a little far forward. He's going to need to get out of there. Oh, no, and he has a retreat path where, okay, he probably will not go down. Mech Boy, I even wonder if he could have chased after him, but doesn't look like he will bother. Decides that he's got better things to do with his time. Oh, we've got a back cap by the Dire Avengers on the natural victory point for the Orks. But now the Rangers are in a lot of trouble. They'll be focused down in retreat. At least one more model will be killed, but I don't think the final one does go down. Oh, man. Just, I mean, Orks, they have so much raw range DPS that even in retreat, when retreat actually gives a resistance to range damage, Orks can be very threatening at wiping units on retreat. Meanwhile, what is this going to be? A Warp Spider call-in. As we do see our Orks, what are they looking for? I mean, they... Okay, I mean, I guess they'll move in for this Power Bash, and they'll definitely get the Power Bash. There's not enough to stop this Power Bash from happening. They 100% destroy this entire farm here. Actually, I might be wrong here. Maybe not 100%. If they can act quickly, though, they can get, I'm going to say, at least 2 generators. They've got triple shooters. Triple shooters. They've got burners. They're targeting the power node, though. So and they're proving me wrong. Man, I was super wrong on that call. Please forgive me. 100% full power bash. That aged well. All right, meanwhile, Eldar players trying to get more power bashing. And again, we're seeing more generators being left alive with partial hit points. So Eldar definitely have a focus on generators at the moment, but they need to actually seal the deal. They need to finish the job. So Warp Spider Squad, certainly a very, very powerful squad. A lot of raw DPS. So they'll be able to bash these generators down pretty quickly. So this time I can call it 100% full generator bash. We got it this time. We're good. Meanwhile, the War Truck is actually going to park itself behind. This is a little bit risky, especially, okay, we don't see an upgrade to a Bright Lance. I feel like it actually could have been a thing if there had been a faster upgrade to the Bright Lance along with a Haywire Grenade out of the Warp Spider squad. It actually could have been a threat to kill the War Truck, but not quite. I mean, obviously, I'm looking at things from a bird's eye view. I mean, the Haywire goes in, but the Haywire is not going to achieve anything. I mean, it'll temporarily disable the War Truck, but it's not going to threaten a kill without any additional damage follow-up. The Howling Banshees, it's an aspect of Fleetness Banshee squad, so they're not going to be great at trying to do that, even though the War Truck is made of papier-mâché. Yeah, they needed something else there to really threaten that War Truck. So for now, Orc players will take back the bottom victory point. But, I mean, certainly in terms of victory points, it's a pretty even game. It does seem like our Eldar players have also been a little bit more aggressive in achieving more in terms of generator bashes. Oh, no, these Howling Banshees, though, they're just walking into way too much, yeah, and they don't achieve that much with that approach. I mean, I guess they got the suppression. Okay, so another Haywire goes off on the War Truck. But, again, no damage follow-up. No damage follow-up. Now, let's take a look. Okay, with the damage that it's taking, we now have double Warp Spiders. Now, double Warp Spiders, if they double Haywire, that will actually kill a War Truck that does not have reinforced plating. So we'll see if RedBeard maybe will upgrade to the reinforced plating, because then he could actually survive double Haywires. But we also have to deal with the fact that we actually have a total of 4 Warp Spider squads at the moment. Although this one right here, okay, it's upgrading to the aspect of the Haywire right now. Oh my god, these Warp Spider squads taking too much damage from these Shooter Boys, though. That's really, really rough for them. Individually, Warp Spiders definitely outshoot Shooter Boy squads individually. But, of course, there's definitely the issue of if you've got this many Shooter Boys, you've got 3 casts of Aiming What's That. Even while one squad is using Aiming What's That, you've still got plenty of range DPS coming out of your other shooter squads. So it's starting to look better for our Orc players, especially given that some of our players are taking some losses. Brawler, I think in particular, has been taking some losses. Grenade going to be thrown in raw. Will hit the Weird Boy. Does do a decent amount of damage to him. All right, Eldar player's going to move out here. War Truck, still no reinforced plating. So, I mean, of course it's been kept alive so far, and now it's actually going through a bad position. Oh, but the Warp Spiders are not here. I kind of mixed up with the grenade icon. Only Dire Avengers and Howling Banshees there, so the War Truck can actually drive through there pretty freely. And, oh, RedBeard actually making the smart plays. He's driving away from the Warp Spiders. He's going to go for a flank onto Brawler, who has no Warp Spiders whatsoever. This is going to be pretty brutal for Brawler. And it's combined with this approach here from Bruce Campbell. This is mean. This is bullying. I think, yeah, Brawler needs to get out of here. He's already about to lose. He's absolutely going to lose one squad of Dire Avengers, barring just any big misplays. I can't believe it. I'm being proven wrong every left and right. Can't even talk anymore. That's how wrong I'm being proven. All right, that wasn't actually too bad for Brawler. Not anywhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. He didn't lose any squads. He did concede the victory point, but, I mean, that's just the price to pay of backing out safely. A lot of generator bashing just happening in the bottom here. I mean, double Warp Spiders is a massive amount of range DPS, so they're just doing so much damage. Okay, War Truck is moving back down. Again, it still does not have extra armor. I guess he's just content to keep it away from the Warp Spiders for the rest of the game and just find value elsewhere on the map. So he's got the Slugger Boys coming out of here. I guess the Shooter Boys are maybe over here. Maybe these are his Shooter Boys. I would have to click on them individually. Commando Knob also coming in. Can also bash that power. Meanwhile, there's more of a fight going on right here as the Warp Spiders are doing so much. That should be one squid. I just gave in to it. One Shooter squad will be wiped. I think the Ludas get wiped as well. No force melee. It might be wiped anyway. Okay. Force melee, I thought was going to happen, but didn't. Does look like an Exarch was killed on one of these Warp Spider squads, however. Yes, indeed. One of them lost their Exarch. Meanwhile, Howling Banshees, what they're going for, I guess, the victory point? Maybe even a flank on this mech boy. Meanwhile, the double Warp Spiders are actually doing some work for Ben and Lindonin. Ooh, that could be a wipe on the mech boy. There's a pretty good chance that it is. Oh, and a sync kill as well by the Howling Banshee. All right, this is looking really good for our Eldar players now, even though Brawler has definitely suffered some losses. I mean, there have been losses, actually, for a lot of players. Oh, no. The Commando Knob. I think he goes down here as well. Okay, maybe not. Or maybe he does. He does. It was a nice try, but in the end, it didn't even matter. All right, then. Infiltrated Avatar. This is the Cloak of Shadows. Infiltrated Avatar just now unleashing its sword. And that's quite an Avatar call. Oh, Warp Throw, I believe. Yes, Warp Throw. That didn't work out too well for him. He was trying to go for Warp Throw into Wrath of Cain, but didn't really work out that well. Meanwhile, here's another Rocks. And I keep on missing the Rocks because yeah, it definitely came out of RedBeard. It was probably another attempt at aiming what's that into Rocks. Oh God, yeah. Wow, I missed a big play. RedBeard's signature. Oh God. Oh no. The effect. I guess I must have missed the effect. Ethereal Slash in retreat. A little late. Kane's Wrath in retreat. Also a little late. Not quite there for Brawler. Unfortunately for Ben 1993, he had to deal with RedBeard's Rocks. So definitely another signature of RedBeard is Love Dadaka from the Commandos into Rocks. You can almost guarantee that he will attempt it in a game, and he often combos it very, very well. And he apparently took out both of the Warp Spiders with it because they can't teleport out when they're being pinned down like that. Warp Spider's teleporting around again, but it's a triple cap for our Eldar. This is looking like their game to take. Kane's Wrath this time knocking over the Weird Boy. Weird Boy is gone. And that will be the concede right as the Weird Boy explodes. Oh my god. Let's trying to take a closer look at that. I think we literally see parts of his body here. Yeah, parts of his body. Alright then, so series has been evened up. Our Eldar have answered back, and now it's time for game number 3.
Walk in the witch path.
Game number 3 in our series is going to take place on Katrin Purification Plant. We've got Brawler here, back on the Warlock. Lindonin will be on the Farseer. Ben 1993 on the Warp Spider Exarch. Their opponents, Assman going to be on that Mech Boy. Bruce Campbell back to the War Boss. I think it's a good choice. Finally, RedBeard yet again on that Commander Knob. So obviously, so far I've only just barely missed kind of all the high value rocks in this series. The good news is that, you know, as long as RedBeard is playing, there's a pretty good chance that we'll see at least one more attempt at Love Dadaka into rocks, if not more than one. So, fingers crossed, as it is really a signature of his. Speaking of RedBeard, infiltrated Commander Knob right here. Not doing too much yet. I think he's going to just go for a flank. Like once, yeah, he'll open fire net right now. Or he'll use the stun bomb. Oh, but he's going to miss the stun bomb. But he's still infiltrated. They know his position, so he wasn't able to do anything there. Unfortunately, okay, does look like he's going to be winning this engagement anyway, even though it's not the Commander Knob who's really winning it for them. Warlock, though, does get a really nice special attack on pretty much all 3 Eldar squad. Sorry, on all 3 Orc squads. And Howling Bench is getting in here, though, and still alive. That ultimately means this is a 1 engagement for Brawler. Oh, no. And RedBeard will lose his Slugger squad. So, yeah, that did not go very well for RedBeard. Meanwhile, on this side, it's not going well for our Orc players pretty all around. A lot of Dire Avengers right here. They're not in cover, though. They've got to be so careful. They're trying to get in cover. Meanwhile, the Warp Spider Exarch, he's just doing damage at range. I feel like it's now time for the Warp Spider Exarch to actually teleport into melee and shut down the range damage of the Shooter Squad. They ultimately win anyway. This is Ben 1993 right here, but just I feel like it would just be like, you know, just optimizing if you had the Warp Spider in melee, just shutting down the range damage of those shooters so that they're not bleeding the Dire Avengers even further. Alright, Dire Avengers right here will be bashing down that power node, while the Howling Bench is going to kind of just stand around. All right, then Bruce Campbell is right here, and again, look at what he's getting. He goes back to the War Boss, already getting that angry bits. I feel like the War Boss, I don't know. I mean, not that the other, I feel like the War Boss personally is essential. Like I feel like if you're gonna play a faction war, I feel like you want at least one War Boss. I feel like there's just so much that he offers. And I mean, certainly there are plenty of things that the Mech Boy and the Commander Knob offer as well, but I honestly feel like you're missing something if you don't have at least one War Boss. Okay, big engagement right here. Maybe not that big of an engagement. Brawler's Warlock is pretty low, but his Guardian Weapon team does make it so that they can't approach any further. Wow, quad Rangers at the moment, so a lot of sniper fire coming in from our Eldar players. Warp Spider Exarch will be lucky enough to get out live out here. No force melee by anyone in retreat. I mean, it's not like Shooter Boys actually do a good job at force melee. You know, you'd actually have to kind of crunch the numbers. Would Shooter Boys be better off force meleeing when they're at unit in retreat, when they're trying to kill a unit in retreat, or is it better for them to actually just continue shooting their ranged weapons? You're kind of weighing the raw DPS of Shooter Boys against the range damage resistance of Retreating against the low melee damage of Shooter Boys, but the melee vulnerability of Retreating. But anyway, that's a lot of big words right there. Let's talk about some Howling Banshees getting into melee. They are really low on hit points, but they proc a special attack and activate War Shout before they have to go. So I think that's pretty good, and I think that ultimately, certainly with the numbers here, the sheer numbers, definitely means Eldar is going to be winning this engagement. All right, more Eldar looking like they're still having a good time. Yeah, I don't know. There's, of course, there were a lot of dynamics about how the matchup worked that I talked about, where Eldar could be having difficulty, the way they were having difficulty in Game 1, but this game really doesn't seem to be the case. The War Boss actually knocking over most of his units, or those, yeah, those are all his. And not happy about it. And he'll just have to retreat the War Boss as well. So, oh my god, Ben 1993's army is massive. Double Ranger, double Guardian weapon team. I mean, what's working better for our Eldar players this time? On the one hand, it might be the better use of the Guardian weapon team. Could also be the large amount of Rangers just being able to bleed the Orks before they can even get close enough to engage in a Shooter Boy versus Dire Avenger battle, which normally seems to go well for the Shooters. Meanwhile, Howling Banshees are going to go down. Oh my god, if they don't go down, that's absolutely crazy. Storm Boys literally trying to finish them with their sluggers. That Howling Banshee got out of there with 1 hit point. Okay, but this Guardian weapon team will definitely have to deal with this War Boss. Wasn't targeting the War Boss, and the War Boss was able to just close the gap using that Now I'm Angry. Stun Bomb actually connecting on the Howling Banshees works out pretty well. So they're just going to be taking a lot of damage from that Luda they were trying to get into melee with. So that time a good Stun Bomb out of RedBeard. And it's a victory point lead for our Eldar players at this time. Assman trying to come around the corner, but he's going to be walking right into the arc of a Guardian weapon team. So I don't think that's going to work, just moving those Shooter Boys around the corner like that. All right, we're going to see another approach by this War Boss. Unfortunately for him, he might be tanky. He only has the Now I'm Angry, though, or rather the Angry Bit, so he's not going to be tanky enough. He might even go down in retreat here. Trying to make things happen, but unfortunately he will go down in retreat. Unfortunately found himself charging right into the firing arc of another Guardian weapon team. Luda Squad right here, keeping the suppression on those Dire Avengers. Does eventually scare them off the field. Meanwhile, we're going to see Brawler moving back in here. Moving up, maybe seeing if he can get a power bash, but we are going to have this Commando Knob from RedBeard. What is he going to do? There is, of course, detection against the Commando Knob, given that we do have Rangers, and that's, aside from just the way the Rangers can be used against the squad, going to be important to have. Certainly for, oh no, he's going to lose the Commando Knob, I think. He's going to be so close. Oh, the Stun Bomb is actually so timely. All right, meanwhile over here, more approaches by the Orks, just not really working out. Oh, God! Kinetic Pulse into the grenade works out very, very well to do a lot of damage to those sluggers. I think just I feel like it's the formations, the Eldar formations at the moment, where whenever the Orks try to approach, there's always just something farther back for the Eldar that's just putting too much damage on them. Like the Rangers are farther back, so that when they think they've reached the Eldar lines, they've actually only breached like the first Eldar line, and then the second one is pummeling them, punishing them for their approach. But this time it seems like it just might be RedBeard who will punish Brawler. It's going to be someone, though. It's going to be Lindonin, though, coming in with an Autark call-in. Those grenades coming raining down from the sky. The Autark giving some health back. to the Dire Avengers, and that should be enough at the moment. That is scaring off some of the forces here from RedBeard, but it also looks like Brawler was pushed back in that engagement. Meanwhile, here's that Stompy Tin Can. It's the Death Dread looking to get some melee attacks in on the Guardian weapon team. Not doing too bad of a job for it. The Death Dread going to be a very important line breaker and stalemate breaker at this point. Obviously, there's the fact that it can charge right up against the Guardian weapon teams with impunity. And then, of course, we're seeing some of these Guardian weapon teams being turned into Bright Lance cannons rather than staying as Shuriken cannons. Now, that does mean that once they're Bright Lances, the Death Dread can't just approach with impunity, but it also makes it easier for the infantry to approach because there's less suppression to deal with. So I think this is Cult of Speed on the Mech Boy, unless it was unless it was Use Your Choppas. I don't know if you can actually put Use Your Choppas on a vehicle. I don't recall that. Of course, it's always been very embarrassing. Probably not Use Your Choppas if Use Your Choppas was just placed on these Storm Boys, so that was probably Cult of Speed, which makes more sense. All right, special attack by the Death Dread. Meanwhile, Death Dread can actually just get into melee of the Guardian weapon team and just scare it off the field. There's nothing else that really threatens it. This Death Dread might actually go down. That was actually a super close call for that Death Dread to not go down there. That Bright Lance was allowed to fire for just a little bit too long. Grenade in retreat. Can that finish it off? No, the grenades are a complete miss. Meanwhile, over here, we have a Wraith Lord out of Brawler. And that Wraith Lord currently... Let's take a look. What does RedBeard have? He does have... Oh, this... Okay, he's going to be getting a Beamy Def Gun on his Death Dread since he got a squad of Stick Bombers instead of some Tank Busters. And that's basically the only quick answer that he has to this. Of course, this Looter Squad, huge range, nice burst damage, as we can see, just taking a nice solid chunk. Yeah, just some nice chunks out of the health of that Wraith Lord. Wraith Lord currently, I think something needs to be done. Okay, they're going to maybe attempt to throw a grenade on the Luda Squad. Doesn't eventually happen. They were hit by the Weird Boy. Where is the Weird Boy? I didn't even see the Weird Boy. There he is. Now he's hitting his own Stick Bombers. So some staggered Stick Bomb throws. I think this Wraith Lord is actually in a huge amount of trouble. Okay, it is trying to get back here. Oh, Brawler is being doubled. So he really needs to get out of here. I think he loses the Guardian weapon team. I think that the Howling Banshees just need to go. Like, he really just needs to cut his losses. The rest of these units need to keep going as well. Oh, no. This is really bad. Unless the Wraith Lord can actually... Oh, the Wraith Lord actually gets a kill. I kind of missed it there, but the Wraith Lord got a kill on the Commander Knob right there. But that shouldn't actually be too hard of a revive. Meanwhile, where is the Beamy Def Gun? All right, Beamy Def Gun not actually in a position to deal with this Wraith Lord. So I think the Wraith Lord will be okay. Beamy Def Gun trying to set up, but as long as the Wraith Lord just keeps moving back, it shouldn't actually be able to catch the Wraith Lord. Yeah, and there's no kind of mobile AV to deal with this Wraith Lord. What was just... Oh, the Autarch was killed. An Autarch was called in just to kind of, like, provide some peel for that Wraith Lord on its retreat, but the Autarch was killed. That being said, seems like things are still going good for the Eldar. Going well for the Eldar, as we speak good English. All right, big special attack from the Howling Banshees. Distortion Field is put on them, but Ard Boys and Use Your Choppas is put on the Storm Boys, and that will turn the fight in their favor. And this will just be Brawler just trying to get back again. I don't think the Wraith Lord will be killed. Sorry, the Warlock will be killed on retreat, though. He's trying to move up with the Wraith Lord again, but it's not at full health. And this time, the Beamy Luda is set up. Oh, but the Beamy Luda doesn't target the Wraith Lord, and now it'll be disrupted by the grenade. Now the Wraith Lord can actually just move up. Oh, maybe it actually needs to be just a little bit more careful now. Now we have a War Boss. Yeah, Brawler. Okay. Oh, did he just wipe the Luda? That's unbelievable. I can't actually believe that happened. This would be super close to... If the Wraith Lord can just get away, it can get away from the Sluggers. Oh my god, that was huge value plays out of Brawler there. I can't believe he got the Wraith Lord out of there. But he might not be so lucky with the Howling Banshees. Actually, I think he will. I'm just full of bad calls today. Will that zap be spread? It will be spread. I don't know about that. I don't think, unfortunately for them, they kind of got some fake news here. They got the wrong information. Oh, and they actually conceded. Yeah, I was going to say, they said they put Brawler out of the game, but the truth is they didn't. Brawler was actually managing that pretty well and not taking as many losses as they thought. And it was really RedBeard and Assman who really had more losses. So game number 2 going in favor of our Eldar players. Sorry, game number 3. They will lead this series and only need one more to close it out. Let's move on to game number 4. Game number 4 of our best of 5 series between the Eldar and the Orks will take place on Argus Desert Gate. Brawler this time going to be playing as the Warlock, Lindonin on the Warp Spider Exarch, and Ben 1993 playing as that Farseer. Their opponents, our Orc players, RedBeard going to be reprising his role as that Commando Knob, Bruce Campbell yet again on the War Boss, and finally Assman back on the Mech Boy. So in our last game, Brawler came into this after the first game, and yeah, I mean, I think Brawler did particularly well in that last game, despite the fact that, yeah, he was being doubled, but, as our Orc players were pointing out in chat, doubling Brawler wasn't really achieving that much. They were giving up a lot of victory points in the process, and Brawler was really not suffering as many losses as they thought. So Brawler held on miraculously well, especially that final play, one of those final plays, wiping the Ludo while keeping the Wraith Lord alive was absolutely crazy. Meanwhile, Farseer is in melee with all these shooter boys. Going to bleed a few models. I believe she already got one, but she will eventually need to retreat for her troubles. There's a decent chance that she goes down in retreat here, but the Sluggers need to be so careful because they're also so low in hit points and they're being chased by some Howling Banshees. Okay, Dire Avengers, meanwhile, chasing after these shooter boys while the Howling Banshees get into melee, and this ultimately will be a one engagement. One engagement for Ben 1993. Meanwhile, looks like a lot of boys died right here. Oh no, it's Bruce Campbell. He lost the squad of Sluggers. That's why he's talking about it in the chat. All right. Meanwhile, Dire Avengers seemingly letting these shooter boys just shoot at them with impunity. They're not even in cover while the shooter boys are. This squad of Dire Avengers getting so close, just taking so much damage, just trying to find some cover in there. Meanwhile, it does look like Brawler, no, this is Ben 1993, has for the moment. Certainly he's occupying the top, but at the moment he doesn't actually have the victory point, even though he definitely won his engagement. Meanwhile, down here, Brawler in this bottom lane, his responsibility is mostly just to hold on to that power. Anything else is gravy. Meanwhile, up here, what is Ben waiting for? Why aren't we capping this? All right, anyway, our Orc players moving into the natural for the Eldar. They'll be taking that away from them, or at the very least getting a decap, and at the moment it will be victory points ticking in favor of the Orc players. Warboss, meanwhile, trying to get into melee with those Rangers, but the Rangers will just knock him over with a Kinetic Pulse. Now he's starting to take some damage, down to about 60-70% of his health, just taking more damage, but the Pain Boy and the Sluggers will approach as well. And this time it does look like, yeah, Ben 1993 will be overrun, so we will just be retreating out of there before really suffering any significant losses. Still trying to keep some units in here, seeing what he can do with the Rangers. Dire Avenger's trying to slow down the Pain Boy, since at some point he's probably worried about losing some generators.
An ally has gained control of a victory point.
No model kill on those Dire Avengers. Pain Boy still looking to see if he can get one, but eventually he moves back, realizing that he won't be able to get into range. Tanking some shots from the Rangers. So Pain Boy does turn to try to approach them. Can't catch them, though. All right, double cap for our Orc players, starting to take victory points further down in their favor as this Warp Spider Exarch has been equipped with the improved Warp Generator. It's funny, we see that again. I saw that before, but I don't actually recall any significant plays coming out of this improved Warp Generator. All right, down here, Shuriken Cannon will find itself tied up by the Mech Boy. Mech Boy upgrading himself with the battery pack, but eventually he will need to retreat because he teleported himself right into the firing arc of another Guardian Weapon team with a Shuriken Cannon. Orc players, though, putting on the victory point pressure. We've got Warboss here, Warboss Bruce Campbell getting a decap, this sneaky Warboss. Getting a decap on the Eldar natural, but for the moment, top is being doubled by the Eldar. Lindonin and Ben are here to scare RedBeard off the field. Definitely do some damage to the generators, bleed some models from him. Eventually, the Farseer from Ben will need to retreat, but there's so many units right here. Come on, it's got to be a full generator bash this time. Don't make me a liar again. Where are they? They're moving back. Oh, they're moving back because they're about to be approached, so they made me a liar again. Just full of bad calls today. Okay, now it's actually a 2v2, I think. They're being doubled, but Warboss Bruce Campbell just charges in. Unfortunately, he gets focused down. There's how many Dire Avenger squads right here? We literally have to count. There's five Dire Avenger squads. What a big number that is. Some colorful language out of Bruce Campbell.
Our Warlock has attained level 2.
Certainly a lot of Dire Avengers out of our Eldar players. Triple Dire Avenger out of Lindonin. Triple Guardian Weapon team out of Brawler, just dedicated to really holding this. And yet it seems like Assman is kind of onto him. Actually managed to jump the Storm Boys all the way back there. And I think one of these Guardian Weapon teams goes down. Yeah, so the only 2 Guardian Weapons teams now left. Where was the other one? Was it just in base? Oh, it was over here. He's actually splitting up, he's trying to multitask. He's trying to be a real-time strategy game player with micro, high-level micro even. Grenade goes in on the Storm Boys, does catch 2 of them.
Adding support structure. Hostile Orks seek to overrun our resource point.
All right, Lindonin looking for a group teleport, so he's making my wishes come true. It's only his units. Where's he going to go, though? We're going to see this on the map, and it's going to go right here. Stun bomb goes in right and actually hits all of them, but there's no other follow-up, so not much actually happens with that. All right, Assman does actually get a full generator bash right here. So Assman trying to make some things happen where it does seem like Bruce Campbell might just be fully demoralized. And this might be a big fight coming up. Guardian Weapon team does get out of there. So many special attacks coming out of our Warlock. Now using the channeling runes on the Howling Banshee. He's gonna wipe a Slugger squad with that. And this is Assman now in full retreat here. I believe he lost a Slugger squad. And ooh, it looks like they even lost the game. Unfortunately, even if there was a way for them to fight their way back into that game, the morale of the Orcs was just completely broken. You thought morale wasn't in Dawn of War 2, but it is, and this game is proof. And that will be our Eldar players taking this series 3-1.